Hello, we're back here at the WACA. It's approximately 2 hours until England are due to play their first match of the tournament against South Africa. We're getting excited. We've just seen the England players arriving on their team bus at the ground. They're looking quite excited too, so that's going to be a good one. But first up, we're going to review the three matches that we've had so far in this tournament. And the first one, which threw up a little bit of a surprise result in the end, didn't it, Sid, was Australia-India. And India somehow managed to defend what looked to be a relatively paltry total at the halfway stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that India can compete with Australia. We've certainly seen that in the dry series over the past few weeks. But what was a surprise was, from where we were at the halfway period, that, India did not look in a good place. I mean, if you looked at the face on the bench, they did not look like they felt they were in a good place. Harmanpreet looked like someone had just shot her puppy. And yet they came out there and they bowled themselves back into the match. So a fantastic result for India, to not just to get the win, but to get the win from that position. So great result for them, that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really impressed with the kind of responsible way that Deepti Sharma batted. Obviously, kind of took on that. It wasn't a particularly quick innings, but she was still there at the end, and I thought that was really important to the way things turned out. And then obviously Poonam Yadav, the way that she bowled, she completely bamboozled the Australians. So that really throws that group wide open, doesn't it now? Particularly as we've been hearing recently that weather reports for tomorrow here in Perth are that we're going to get some thunderstorms. And the Australia match against Sri Lanka is under threat due to rain, potentially. So that could be problematic for Australia.
Yeah, I mean, if Australia don't take 2 points from that match, a match that they will is one of their ones that they'll have definitely checked down as we are absolutely going to get 2 points from now. They've already dropped 2 points against India. Drop another 1 point in that match if it's rained off, then it really is looking a little bit dicey for them. So, yeah, it definitely opens. I mean, the India result opens up the group for a little bit of excitement. It opens up for the fans. I think the tournament organisers are a bit less pleased because they're absolutely desperate for Australia to qualify for the semi-finals and the final, to be honest. But well, let's see tomorrow. It's lovely weather for England's match today. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We're enjoying the sun. Sorry to make everyone back home in England jealous. And then yesterday here at the WACA, we had two matches that we were able to watch live, which was great. First up, we had Thailand against West Indies, which was really exciting for everyone. Obviously, this is Thailand's first World Cup. We'd not seen them play before, and they hadn't ever played in a World Cup match before, so that made it very exciting. What did you make of the results, Sid?
Well, the West Indies are coming to that match off the back of a long losing streak, and honestly I thought that they were very lucky to be playing Thailand in that scenario. Otherwise I think the losing streak could have got one longer. Their opening bowlers were pretty dreadful. England's opening batsman would have hit them for 15 and over the power play. They were awful, frankly. And I'm not sure they really batted very much better either. They took quite a long time to get those runs, and they had a little bit of a scare, and nearly a worse scare, Raf.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Windies were saved by DRS to some extent. They could easily have been 27 for 4. It was Campbell was given out, and she decided to review. We asked Stephanie Taylor, the captain, about it afterwards in the press conference. She'd been at the other end. She said she had no idea whether it should be reviewed or not, but Campbell took it upon herself to review it, and it turned out that it was missing the stumps, and therefore she was saved. And she went on and made, I think it was about 26 not out, so that was very important runs for the West Indies in the end, potentially saved what could have been a calamitous collapse for them. So I think potentially Thailand could go on and knock up a win in this tournament against Pakistan later on in the week. I'll be certainly watching that match with a lot of interest.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, and then the other match that we had yesterday was New Zealand against Sri Lanka.
Yeah, that wasn't a perfect performance from New Zealand either. I think that they'd freely admit that, but I think there were a couple of huge positives that I want to draw some attention to, and that's the performances of Hayley Jensen, who got Player of the Match, and Maddie Green as well. They've both been around for a long time. They've both had quite a lot of chances, almost in the mould of the number of chances Tammy Beaumont and Danny Wyatt had before they both came onto the plateau of peak form that they've now been in for a few years now. Jensen and Green, both players have been around for a while, and they both turned in their best performances of their careers yesterday, and what a great time to do it, because what New Zealand have really lacked is someone to back up their huge superstars, their Sophie Devines and their Susie Bateses. And if those players are going to do that, Maddie Green yesterday, Hayley Jensen got the player of the match, but it was Maddie Green that really impressed me. She looked like a batsman that deserved to be on the same pitch as Sophie Devine, and not many batsmen in the world look like they deserve to be on the same pitch as Sophie Devine at the moment. So, good for her, and that's fantastic news for the West Indies if those two are going to, provide the backup they need for their superstars.
Although, having said that, if Sri Lanka had actually held all their catches, then things could have been a bit more, a bit different for New Zealand. Sophie Devine was actually dropped when she was on 18. I think the fielder just lost it in the lights in the deep. It's one of those ones that it was in the air for minutes, hours. It felt like and it came down and it just fell through her hands. So that was very unfortunate for Sri Lanka. Jamari Atapatu's obviously having a bit of a purple patch at just the right time for her side, so long may that continue, because it's so great to see a side like Sri Lanka, who have really struggled over the last few years, actually offer a genuinely competitive performance against a side like New Zealand, really. Okay, so that's the matches that we've had so far, and now we're going to do a little bit of a preview of England v South Africa. So what are we expecting from this one, Sid?
We're expecting a game of cricket, Raf. No, I think we're expecting a good game of cricket. I think this has the potential to be the game of this group. South Africa, can really turn it on, and I think that they'll be fired up hopefully, and I'm looking forward to them giving England a real test today.
Okay. Last time these two sides faced each other was in the World T20 in the Caribbean in 2018. What happened? Can you remind us, Sid?
I can remind you, if you're a South African fan, you might want to look away now. The South Africa got pasted in that match. They got bowled out, but more importantly, they batted for most of 20 overs and ended up scoring only 80 odd runs. And England got those runs really easily. So that's not a day that South Africa will wish to remember. It's a day that some England players will certainly want to remember. Anya Shrubsole got a hat trick, if you remember. That finished things off, I believe, though, with the last 3 wickets, if I remember correctly.
I think so, yeah.
That was a great night for them. But South Africa certainly won't be looking back to that particular game in terms of what they can do today. But we know that South Africa, they can be a little bit up and down. We've seen that they've just been playing a series or 2 series in New Zealand, and they won the ODI series 3-0. That included 2 huge wins, but then they went and lost the T20 series 3-1. So, which South Africa is going to turn up. One thing that everyone will certainly be hoping is that Marizanne Kapp turns up. She was sat out for most of that T20 series, and I think she's the key player for South Africa. So, if she's on form and she's on fire, then she'll definitely give England some problems. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to England giving a real test and hopefully coming through it.
I think that Kappy would be licking her lips at the prospect of bowling here at the WACA, which is traditionally a bit of a fast bowler's paradise. Having said that, thinking about England's selection, their key kind of position that's up for debate is who's going to play as the 4th bowler, I guess, whether it's going to be pacer Freya Davies or leg spinner Sarah Glenn. And I think that we had a little bit of a hint actually from Anya Shrubsole the other day that it is going to be Sarah Glenn, which I would be really disappointed with, because I kind of think, what's the point in bringing a seamer with the talents of Freya Davies if you're not going to play her at a ground like this that actually does support fast bowling? But we'll see about that.
Yeah, I mean, Anya's justification was that that both of England's spinners, both Sophie Devine and Sarah Glenn,
Sophie Eccleston.
Sorry. Yep. Get my Sophies mixed up. Both Sophie Eccleston and Sarah Glenn will benefit from the bouncy wicket, and they're the kind of bowlers that will do that. So I can see a justification there, but it would have been nice to see Freya Davies on this wicket. Agreed.
Okay. Obviously, one positive from England's perspective is that all 15 players in their squad are fit and raring to go, as was described by Anya Shrubsole when we spoke to her 48 hours ago. So fingers crossed nothing disastrous has happened since then. We certainly haven't heard of anything. So that will be really good for Lisa Kitely and Heather Knight making their selections for today's match. We'll be bringing you all the action, and here's hoping for a good game.